Health, happiness, and hugs from Las Vegas. Now today, this is a retake. So earlier, I recorded a video comparing cassette tapes to a modern day loop pedal, and my editing kind of went south on me. So I'm gonna do one more time, okay? And I'm gonna do it on the inside just to see what it sounds like. So, health, happiness, and hugs from Las Vegas. This is Chris. I'm living in Lake Las Vegas. It's a small suburb on the outside of Las Vegas. If you've seen Jersey Shore, the reunion, I believe it's their family vacation last year's, they were here. They were in Lake Las Vegas. So, now, last week, the inventor of cassette tapes passed away. His name was Lou Otten. He was a Dutch inventor. His groundbreaking work helped to revolutionize music and the way we listen to it nowadays. Now, they had magnetic tape in the 1960s, but it wasn't compact. It wasn't small. You couldn't bring it with you. So, he thought of the idea of taking one of those big reel tapes and turning it into a nice little cassette tape that could fit into your pocket, that you could bring with you anywhere, so you could record audio, whatever kind of music you want to make, or sound, or recordings, or what have you. You could bring it with you anywhere. Now, the three things I'm going to use for this demo today is a fallen cassette tape on the ground. Okay, we have a Tascam tape recorder right here. Tascam tape recorder, you have a cassette in there, and on the cassette you can record 1, 2, 3, 4 different tracks. Usually I will record a piano and drum track on track number 1, and then I'll add a bass, guitar, strings, whatever I want to add to the other tracks, okay? So this is the first thing we're going to use. The second thing we are going to use, of course, are these speakers. I love these little speakers. If I ever want a spare amp that I can bring with me anywhere, I use these Black Star little speakers. And we have a loop pedal. This is the Boss RC1 loop pedal. Basically, you can record a track, and then it will loop over and over and over again, and you can record a track on top of that. It will loop with the second track and record another track on top of that, so on and so on and so on. I'm gonna do 3 different tracks laid on top of each other today, just to make it simple. And I recorded the track on here on a loop. I recorded the loop of this on a cassette tape. We're gonna listen to those side by side. And then I recorded the whole thing all over again, straight from the synthesizer to the cassette tape, so you can hear the difference, if there is a difference, between the sound. The third tool we are going to use today in order to make the music is the RK100S. This is the second version of the RK100. What is the RK100? It was a guitar from the 1980s. I'm big into the 1980s. I'm big into the sound. So I bought the second generation of the RK100. I like the RK100S. It's groovy. They have an RK100S2. I believe it was postponed in production because of COVID. So I'm excited that the new one is coming out, even though I have no desire to get the new one. If I see a floor model on sale, maybe on Reverb, I will get the new RK100S2. But till then, I'm loving the RK100S in and of itself. There's only a couple of tracks on this stuff, a couple of tones on this that I like, 1 or 2 sequences that I'm in love with. But as far as the whole 200 patches on this, I'm not in love with all 200 patches. I wish they had some really harder, better leads on it, because it's a guitar. You kind of expect to play leads on it, maybe pads if you're performing and you wanted to fill time on stage. So I'm going to show you the 3 different sounds that I'm going to use for my demo. Let's start with the wireless hookup to my amp. Okay, now I chose 3 different sounds to do this track because I've been working on some dance music actually for the club. So this is the first sound I wanted to use for the track. First tone, second tone. Just the cute sound effects that I wanted to use on the bass. Kinda groovy, huh? And the third tone I wanted to use on the track, it's just some synth strings with a bend in pitch. One more time. All right. So those are the 3 tones I used, laid them on top of each other in order to make the full track. Now, before we get into this, let's go into why I love cassette tapes. So, my first introduction to cassette tapes goes like this. These little ladies right here, when I was a little kid, I bought these. This cartoon right there was kind of big in the 80s. It played every day after school. I believe it played in between G.I. Joe and Transformers. They were a rock band that basically they were a rock band that had super adventures. And the cool thing about this show is that it had a toy line. That's a very 80s thing to do. So these little dolls right there, and those are by the way, that's Gem and the Holograms. These are the Misfits. Yeah, the Misfits are better. Everyone knows the Misfits are better. So these groovy dolls came with a cassette tape. So not only were the dolls a product, not only was the cartoon itself a product, but the cassette tapes were a product as well. And the cool thing about the cassettes is that if you like the music on the show, you can listen to it at home. And another groovy feature about the cassettes is that, dude, you can listen to the instrumental of the cassette of the songs as well. You could just hear the music itself and not the words. So this silly little groovy cartoon was my first introduction to the love of cassette tapes. Now, I wanted to dedicate this video to Lou Otten. He was the Dutch inventor of cassette tapes. God bless him. I love his contribution to music. I'm always gonna love the cool analog sound of cassettes. And you wouldn't even know it, but the sound of the cassette tape, if you had a cassette tape 30 years ago and you put it in your cassette player or your boom box, if you put it in your boom box, your cassette tape will sound awesome, just as awesome as it did 30 years ago. Let's say you have cassette tapes from when you were a little kid, you put it in a boom box and play it, it will sound the exact same. Maybe just a little bit of degradation over time, but not enough for you to like audibly notice unless you're maybe a sound engineer. Now, as far as the 3 tracks, let's listen to that track that I recorded, but from the loop pedal. That's the loop pedal. Now, let's listen to it, the recording of the loop pedal on the Tascam. Let's get this guy over here. This should be the loop pedal recording. Nice. You couldn't even tell. All right, so that is the recording of the loop pedal itself. Now, let's listen to the same thing, but just the cassette itself. I recorded the exact same track on a cassette, one by one. Let's give it a listen, all right? Now the cool thing about listening to this Tascam is that you can isolate the recording that you want to listen, that you've already recorded on tracks 1, 2, 3, and 4. I only recorded 3 tracks. We're going to listen to them and do that comparison. Same song, just on a cassette recorder. Let's give it a listen. There it goes. Woo, that's a little loud. All right. Track 1. Track 1. Track 2. I love that band. Track 3. Nice. Love that echo. Now all together. Come on. One, 2, and 3. I love that. Now, honestly, unless you are a sound engineer, the sound isn't all that different. You basically, this is almost MP3 technology on there. It's gonna take sample sounds and then lay them on top of each other off of computer technology. This guy, it's all magnets. It's all magnetic, electromagnetic, tape recorded onto a magnetic little tape. Now the cool thing about audio tapes is that this little piece of tape in there, let's see if I could just bring it. Oh, I should get another one of these. I didn't know this guy was chipped. Let's see. Come on. Wind up for me. Yeah, that's the cool old school thing about cassette tapes is you had to wind that yourself, dude. So that little piece of magnetic tape in there can record up to 4 different strips of music. Now, that's what I really love about using this Tascam recorder. You can record 1, 2, 3, and 4 tracks. Those tracks lay on top of each other on the magnetic tape. 1, 2, 3, 4. That little tape has 4 little tracks on it. Now, the cool thing about cassette tapes, like I said, 30 years later, you could put this cassette tape into your player if you have one, and it will still play the same. I'm hoping 30 years from now, I will still have my cassettes and I could still play them. Now, I wish I could play you some Gem and the Holograms music. I don't have the I don't have the copyright to them, which is funny too, because I even have some of their shoot music on my piano just to play when I'm like feeling goofy. I hope I'm finding everybody out there happy and healthy and doing well. I do try to play music because I believe that music and art heals. I believe that people need some sort of self-expression in order to get by in the world. If you're going through anything right now in life, I would encourage you to find people you love to talk to let them know how you're feeling and what's going on with you. During COVID, a lot of people are dealing with depression. So if you are dealing with depression, I would encourage you to seek out people who you trust and have a talk with them. If you have any creative abilities, I would suggest that you dive into them. I believe that art heals. I believe that there's therapy through art. Psychologists, psychiatrists have used art in order to help their patients express themselves and in order, as a healing aid, basically. Music does soothe the savage beast. If you're an artist, if you could draw and paint, if you're going through something, you could pretty much put it down on a canvas and you let it all out of you. Now that's the big part of music that I super duper love. One more time I'm gonna play this track because I'm kind of in love with this track. I've been working on this for a little bit. I wanna create dance music because it's helpful. It's helpful and uplifting to the crowds who wanna go out on a weekend and just like let it all go. And then of course they have to go back to work on a Monday. So, I'm gonna leave you with my electronic dance music and wish everybody health, hugs, happiness, and I'm gonna leave you with a little bit of Gem and the Holograms. I hope everybody's taking care of yourself out there. Hug and kiss somebody you love. If there's somebody out there you love, hug and kiss them. Let them know how you feel. If you make music, make it. If you make art, make it, man. Believe in it. Music heals. Art heals. Hugs, health, and happiness from Las Vegas.